with trauma, the only way out of it is through healing. Especially with complex trauma, like in the case of, people who have gone through care, they do need the help of a mental health person. As a society, I don't know, Veronica, maybe let me ask you, if you see a man cry, what would be your first response?
I'll judge him.
You'll judge him, right? Yeah, men should not cry.
Let's say a question has been posed, then I answer. I start shaking.
Yeah.
Then the question keeps on popping in my mind. Was I really right? That question. And it will haunt me throughout the day. So how can we overcome that? It's funny how in this generation, you'll have a conversation with your friend and you'll be like, I don't drink.
Yes.
And they'll condemn you like, you don't drink? How are you surviving?
Yeah.
Ukunywi. So I have friends who actually distance themselves from me because I told them I don't drink.
Yes. Because we have put it in as a cool factor, yeah? It's like drinking is cool, all the nice clubs are cool.
Welcome back to another episode of Resilient Voices, where we amplify lived experiences across Kenya and beyond. Today, we will be exploring mental health and wellness. And to navigate this interesting topic, I am joined here by Emily. She will introduce herself and tell us more about her. But before that, Emily, I hope you don't mind sharing your skincare routine after this session because you are really glowing.
Oh, thank you.
So the floor is yours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Veronica. My name is Emily Mbelenga. I am a clinical psychologist and a nutritionist. I am the founder of an organization called Iashi Wellness Center, where we focus on well-being and integrating mental health and nutrition for support and for making sure that people are thriving in all areas of life. I'm really excited to be here today and to have this conversation on mental health.
You're welcome. So let's set the stage with a bit of background just to give us a clearer picture of our today's conversation. So around the world, caregivers are at increased risk of mental illness, including depression, anxiety, PTSD, suicidal thoughts, and emotional dysregulation. Why? Because of the complex trauma many experience while in institutional care, separation from family, emotional neglect, abuse, lack of identity, and sudden transition into adulthood without enough preparation or support. In Kenya, many caregivers leave care without a permanent support system, with limited access to therapy or mental health education. The stigma around mental illness adds another barrier. But there is hope. We've seen caregivers thriving out there, and some have become great people in the society. So you've worked with caregivers before.
Yes, I have.
So can you tell us something about the context?
Okay, thank you very much. I like how you've set the context and just presenting the mental health struggles really that caregivers experienced, from anxiety, depression, PTSD, emotional dysregulation. And I must say that other young people in the same age group as the caregivers do experience the same, just that the intensity, they are more represented with the caregivers because of the trauma that, as you've mentioned, growing up in institutional care adds trauma. And when we look at the journey even to institutionalization, when a child has been separated from the family, there might have been already problems within the household, and the separation in itself also adds trauma. So it's a complex issue, as you have said, and support is limited. Stigma on mental health is very big in our country, and I think globally. For many of us, and even with my clients, before someone comes to see Emily or another mental health person, they have tried many things. Probably they've tried prayers, they've tried depending on which part of Kenya you come from, maybe they've gone to a witch doctor or something like. But we don't come to the mental health workers as a first point of care, and so all those factors are what is happening with the care experienced persons that contribute to the burdens of mental illness. Yes.
So many caregivers face mental health struggles, from anxiety, depression to emotional breakdown. What are some of the most common causes of mental illness for young people living care?
Okay, thank you. So the first one is that separation, the trauma that we talked about. Adverse childhood experiences really contribute to complex trauma even in adulthood. Adverse childhood experiences can include growing up in a violent home, being separated from a primary caregiver, growing up without a primary caregiver, bullying, experiencing violence, different kinds of violence, observing violence. You see, like PTSD is not just experience. Like you can experience post-traumatic stress disorder even when you have influenced violence, when you have seen other people experience violence. It can also affect you. So that is one of the causes, the childhood trauma, that separation. Another part of it is access. Mental health services can be a bit out of reach in terms of prices, or sometimes people don't even know who to go to. So even when solutions could be provided early on that can mitigate the impact of the anxiety or depression, sometimes it does not come early for the caregivers, either because they can't afford it or they're not aware. So that also contributes, because when you get treatment, when you get access to treatment early on, you are able to cope easier, or you're able to learn even the skills, you're able to receive treatment, you're able to receive support. So if you don't have that capacity to get mental health services, it can affect you. Then number 3, I would say it's something you talked about when you're introducing the context, that abruptly being introduced into adulthood. So you are surviving. There is this Maslow hierarchy of needs. Food, basic needs like food and shelter and clothing is what you need first to survive. So when you're thinking about, where am I going to live? Do I have a job? Am I able to support myself? You have been separated from what you knew as a family, which is the home. Now you no longer have access to it. You will probably not think that your mental well-being is your priority, because you're trying, first of all, just to survive, to get a home. Yeah. So coming to see Emily or coming to see another mental health worker is probably not on top of the priority list for caregivers. And that's also contributes now to the burden of mental illness.
Yeah. You've spoken about childhood trauma.
Yes.
And through this, some people are being affected when they join adulthood. So how can someone heal from that, just to live a free adulthood without remembering the things you underwent?
All right. Instinctively, we pain is not something nice, so we try to avoid it.
Yeah.
But with trauma, the only way out of it is through healing. And especially with complex trauma, like in the case of people who have gone through care, they do need the help of a mental health person, because some of it involves remembering really traumatic experiences that somebody cannot do alone. 2, you cannot do safely with somebody who is not trained. So I'd say the first thing is to be able to get help. And sometimes help can sound like something that is out of reach, because we talked about the cost of care. But I know later on probably we'll talk about the Singing to the Lion program, but through peer support, you see, like the conversations that we are having now, having conversations in a safe space also can help you to overcome trauma, because you realize that you're not alone. Yeah, so that would be number 2. So number 1, seeing a mental health specialist. Number 2, conversations within peers to support. Then once you have done all that, there are day-to-day resilience or well-being things that you can do that can keep you grounded. One is journaling, like writing how you're feeling. Yes, journaling actually is really powerful. Even when you have been hurt by someone and maybe you're not able to tell them, like I'm not able to tell you, Veronica, you hurt me in this way. Putting those emotions in writing, especially if you are using your hands, not typing.
Yeah.
I know now we are very tech and there is something connecting when you're just using your hand. If you're able to write that, even burn it. You don't have to even anybody to see it the light of day. That helps you to process. Identifying safe people to talk to. Yes, talking is good, but you need safe people. You can share your childhood trauma experience with me and then it becomes fodder for gossip and I go to tell everybody. So you need to also identify who is a safe person for you that you're able to talk to without fear of your vulnerability being exposed. So those are some of the ways I would say that you can be able to handle trauma. Don't bottle it up. In the short term, it feels like, okay, let me put it in that box that I do not open, but that box will one day explode when you least expect it. One time I had a client who came in and was sharing, her experience with trauma, and she was telling me she went for an interview, and when they asked her, what's your name, she broke down and cried. You see, because of that bottling up. So unfortunately, when we don't process trauma, it will come up. The body will remind us that we have this pain that we need to process. So it's good to see a mental health therapist, to have these safe circles, safe conversations that help you to process that pain, as you go along in the journey of life. Yeah.
So let's talk about men and mental health. Men are perceived to be the strongest people in the society, but deep down, some of them are really hurting.
Yes.
So let's just touch something on that.
Okay. Thanks
How
for
do
bringing
they
that.
express themselves out?
Yeah, and you've actually rightly put it. There's a lot of expectation in society for men to be strong. They're the head of the family. They're the providers, and also we, as a society, I don't know, Veronica. Maybe let me ask you: if you see a man cry, what would be your first? What would be your first response?
I'll judge him.
You'll judge him, right? Yeah, men should not cry. In a way, that's how we even the boy child, like how we comfort a little girl from a little boy is very different. We tend to hug more the little girls as opposed to the boys. Sometimes we tend to tell them like, don't cry. We kind of like want them to be strong. So unfortunately, men then grow with that inability to be vulnerable, inability to show the pain that they're going through. I came across a clip that was being talked by a lady, a clinical psychologist. She was talking about mental health, and she said that we all cry. There are two types of tears, and it was very powerful. Physical tears that we know, or psychological tears. So men tend to have psychological tears. We don't see them, but they're still struggling because we don't offer safe spaces for them to say, I'm struggling. We judge them, as you have said. And you'll find that even dying by suicide, there are actually higher rates of suicide among men than among women because of all these things. So what can they do? So far, research is showing that men are more comfortable with conversations being led by men. Yeah, like so maybe they would be more comfortable with a male therapist as opposed to a female one. That doesn't mean that, say, you or me can still not play a role in supporting men's mental health. We can still have safe spaces at home to normalize. Check on your male colleagues, male friends, ask them how they are doing, encourage them to seek help. Sporting activities are good for men because they kind of tend to like that. So if we are able to bring those conversations within their spaces, within the activities that they like sport, it can be a good way. And just to keep on saying, come, it's okay to be vulnerable. Conversations such as this, perhaps maybe next time also having a male mental health person speak to them, I think that can also be very useful.
Yeah, that's remind me of a certain video that I watched on TikTok. This man who was crying, but in the comment section, a lot of people are judging. Like, we ni mwanaume unalia nini hapa? Mbona unaonyesha machozi yako kwa watu? Toka kwenda ufanye kazi. So it's always painful.
Yeah, it is always painful. So you see now they don't feel safe, because they know if you cry, someone will be there in the comments saying, unalia nini, be strong, mwanaume ni kujikaza or something like that. Yeah.
So sometimes mental health struggles don't show up loudly, and without knowing what to look for, many caregivers suffer in silence. What signs should caregivers watch for to know when mental health support might be needed?
Oh, that's a very good question. Thank you. Indeed, yeah, it will not, by the time it's coming with a bright sign, you probably have really suffered. So one of the things is not being able to take care of yourself, self-care. And this is especially so significant or comes out strongly with those people who are struggling with depression. So when you're not able to take a bath, you've gone 2-3 days, you're not showering. When you're struggling with eating, either too much or too little. Sleep, either too much or too little. Like both, either you're not able to sleep or you're sleeping too much. Like, you go to bed at 9 and you're waking up maybe at 2. Those are some of the signs. Not being able to undertake your day-to-day activities, so you feel you're not energetic enough to go to work, to go to school. You're not doing your normal activities, you're struggling to do them. That is usually also one of the signs. Feeling emotional, both, like either you're feeling overly emotional, like crying tears, or you're blocking your emotion. That can be a sign. Isolation, you now no longer want to meet up with your friends. They're inviting you for things, you want to stay at home, you don't want to talk to people. Those are some of the indicators that you can see. So not being able to do your day-to-day activities, struggling with sleep, too much, too little, struggling with basic hygiene, isolation. Those are some of the things that can tell you things are not okay. Sometimes also people close to you can tell you, Veronica, I've seen you're not dressing, you're not dressing the way you normally do. They can also notice something that is not usual to how you behave, and then they can let you know. Yeah. So those are some of the examples I can give you. However, when you go to, I must say that these are just general examples I'm giving.
Yeah.
Depending on, whether it's depression, anxiety, PTSD, when you see a mental health person, they'll be able to assess you. We normally have a number of tools that we look at. So ABCD is present. We also have to look at context. You see, like, for example, if you have an interview today or an exam, you're going to feel anxious, right? Does that mean you're having an anxiety disorder? Probably not. So you see, there is a number of checklists we see. We look at what is happening around you. Yeah, like what are the other underlying factors that might explain this situation? Yes or no? And then now you're able to get a diagnosis. So if you feel you're not functioning well in your day-to-day, it's good to seek help or to talk to someone around you. Yeah.
So we always talk about mental stability.
Yeah.
What does it really mean?
Okay. Mental stability, resilience, okay. So it's being able to how can I put it? Let me put it this way. It's being able to thrive despite adversity. I would say, because life is hard. There will be challenges day to day. So how are you able to move in without giving up? How are you able to maintain, your day-to-day activities? So resilience comes from an inner space of healing. First of all, especially as we are talking about care experienced individuals, it will come first from a point of healing, processing that pain, processing that trauma. Then you'll be better, on the other side. Having support system, we can't do life alone. We were not meant to. So having community, and when you say community, I think for many of us, we think of it as that huge village. Maybe some of us that grew up in, but it may not necessarily be like so many people, a community in that sense. It could be your best friend. It could be the people that you're comfortable to talk about. Community. Self-care. Self-care can also help you to maintain resilience. And self-care, it's about things that you love doing. Nature has like walks. And do you do these nature activities. Yeah. So like taking walks, being into nature, those things can help us to feel grounded. We are also in a world that is very digital and tech. We are overly connected. Sometimes we don't have time to, just to be and to feel like this is just Veronica, this is me. So mindfulness is one of the ways to be resilient mentally. And mindfulness, I'll give you an example of mindfulness exercise that I normally do with my clients. It's called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it's when you are distressed, like when you're feeling stressed. And I encourage you to also try this at home. So you say it's connecting with our senses, yeah? So 5 things you can see. So you pause and notice 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can hear. So you notice 4 things that you can hear, 3 things that you can touch. Yeah, 3 things that you can touch. So I've said sight, hear, sight, touch, see. Which is the other sense? Things that you can test. So you connect like from eyes to sound to touch and then to taste. When you do this, it helps you to be grounded. When you're just pausing and trying to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things, it allows you to be in the present. Most of the time we are always future living. We are thinking about, when I live here, what am I going to do next? We never stay in the present. Staying in the present really helps people to be more mentally stable. So those are some that I can tell you that people can try at home and in day-to-day living.
Let's talk about social anxiety.
Yes.
And I also think I have that issue. So like when I'm in the crowd,
Yes.
and let's say a question has been posed, then I answer, I start shaking. Then the question keeps on popping in my mind. Was I really right? That question. And it will haunt me throughout the day. So how can we overcome that?
Wow. Okay. That's a good one. So in terms of that, if someone especially has, you remember when we were talking about how to know if you're struggling with mental health, if something is stopping you from being able to function, like being able to go to work, because there are people who can have social anxiety until they can't even leave their home. Or they can't even now respond. You're now maybe in an interview and you're asked and you freeze. So you see, that means it's affecting your functioning. You need help. You need an expert to walk you through. However, if small tips that can help, it's usually behavioral. Deep breaths. Can you try to take a deep breath, Veronica? Like, just try to take a deep breath up to your belly. Can we do it together? That deep breath, it helps you to center in the moment, and it can help the anxiety and fear to slow. So taking deep breath can, but for social anxiety, I'd say you need the support of a mental health person, so they can also help you to see what is the root cause of the anxiety and whether it can be resolved.
So how can caregivers adapt emotional stability?
Okay. Emotional stability with all the struggles that they're experiencing. Again, comes back to that processing the trauma. Unfortunately, you see, the only way out is through it. I know healing is tough. Healing is tough, and it can be isolating when you're going through a journey of healing. And when you're learning new things, you'll become a new you. So sometimes the journey of becoming also means losing our old identity. So it will mean coming up with a new identity, which is tough, And sometimes you never want to do that. And when you change your identity, it also means probably the people around you will also change. You might also lose some of the connections that you had. So I'd say the number one that caregivers can do is to go through healing. There's that powerful program that we had with you guys, Singing to the Lion. That was a trauma healing program, which was 6 modules that we went through. Knowing your roots, knowing who we are actually is very core to your well-being. So even as a caregiver, who are you? Yeah, you might have grown up in a certain place, but where did you come from? If you're able to get that information, it can help you in well-being. Having support groups, talking. Support groups doesn't have to be anything formal, but it can also be having these conversations with other people. It can help. Journaling, as I had mentioned previously, journaling is an easy technique to help you to process, to have that mental stability, as you're calling it. Then ask for help when you need to. Asking for help needs vulnerability. Sometimes, recently the World Health Organization released a report on the social determinants of mental health. So they were saying things like housing, things like having a job, financial stability. If you are homeless, I don't think you can be mentally stable, right?
True.
You will definitely be struggling. So ask for help. Sometimes asking for help may not necessarily even be mental health support, but it could be asking people to support you, especially you talked about during that time when people leave their homes and now they're moving into independent living. Yeah, if you need help, even beyond mental health, like if you need help with shelter, ask for help. So those are some of the tips I'd say, caregivers can use, even to be able to thrive, because there is no health without mental health. Yeah.
You mentioned singing to the lions,
Yeah.
and this is a term known to KESCA,
Okay.
but to some caregivers, they might be hearing it for the first time.
All
Can you
right.
tell us more about it and how it impacts caregivers?
Okay, so singing to the lion is it's a trauma healing program that was developed, I think, by CRS, the Catholic Relief Services. So it's a module that you go through for 6 weeks. However, for KESCA, we're doing it for 8 weeks because when you, as you had said, and we have talked about trauma being a very difficult thing, if I just come to you, Veronica, now, and I tell you, okay, let's start trauma healing, probably you will not. You will say, no, let me go away. So we started with just getting to know each other, being comfortable, and also making norms around safe space so that any conversations that we had, no one was repeating them outside. That was a very key part of Singing to the Lion. Yeah, so it's a program to help caregivers process trauma. I think trauma healing is at the heart of well-being for caregivers. So it takes them through modules of knowing who you are. There's a big tree that, tree of life. So connecting who you are, learning skills, as you're saying, learning skills to cope with anxiety, learning skills to deal with pain, connecting with community. So what makes it powerful is the peer support. It's group. It's you do it as a group, yeah. So you don't do it with a therapist alone. And I realized what really made it transformational for the participants from Kenya Society of Caregivers was knowing I am not alone. So when Emily shares her story and you share, and he shares his story, you realize, oh, so I'm not the only one who is struggling with social anxiety. I'm not the only one who has this trauma because I was taken away from my family. It really, that knowing I'm not alone, it really normalized the pain, and it helped a lot of the people that went through the program to go through healing. Yeah, so I would highly recommend it. It was quite transformative. Of course, it needs a mental health person to lead it, because they are part of healing trauma can also bring some very difficult memories. So you need somebody who is experienced to help you to de-escalate the emotion.
Was it a one-time thing or it's always there?
Oh, it happened. So for the part that I was involved in, it was happening between 2017 and 2020. I know that sounds like, centuries ago. Yeah, but it happened for those 3 years, and then it came to an end when we experienced the pandemic. Yes.
Okay, so how can caregivers identify what triggers their emotional or mental struggles, and what are some healthy coping strategies?
Okay. So what you need to have a knowing of yourself, yeah? Remember what you said, like what is usually my normal pattern of sleeping? What is my normal pattern of emotional reaction? Like the client I was telling you who ended up crying during an interview. That was not their normal way of expressing emotions. So it's the first thing caregivers can do is investing in in self-growth, in the sense of knowing yourself. You see, you cannot know, okay, this is not normal for me if you don't know yourself. It comes with a lot of self-reflection. So what makes me happy? What makes me sad? What do I need in the moment? And you see, all this is part of the journey of healing. If you're not in the journey of healing, you will not be able to know what you need, whether it is physically or it's emotionally. So that's one. I'd say that's actually at the core of it. Because if you don't know what works for you, if you don't know how you normally operate, then you will not be able to know whether you're doing well or badly. Simple coping skills positive coping skills that one can do is talking. And I'm really glad that you're having these conversations, even us. I know it's called resilient voices.
Resilient voices.
Yeah, so it's really about resilient voices, speaking up. You see, sometimes I ask myself and I ask my clients, what would you tell a younger you? A younger you may not necessarily be younger Veronica, but it could be the other people that are coming up. So when they hear you talk about, oh, I was struggling with this and I did this. I went for therapy. I did singing to the lion. I started journaling. I started art therapy. Art therapy is also good for people who like creativity. You don't have to have an end in mind. There are even tools for adults to draw. Yeah, so if you can hear, I can hear you saying, I was struggling with this when I left the home. I was struggling with isolation. I joined KESCA. So I got a group of peers. I got a friend there. I went for therapy. I did singing to the lion. That can also help another person who's coming behind to know, oh, okay, these are some of the intervention. I know negative, sometimes we tend to run towards the negative coping, like substance use. People imagine when they take a drink or they smoke weed, it works in the moment, but it gets you into a spiral, yeah? So trying to also have more positive coping skills, as you had asked. It can be around talent, people who like poetry, they can do spoken, what are they called? Spoken, those, around even your pain. Like even sometimes you can use your pain even as a tool of healing, because what you talk about can no longer shame you. And then the last thing I think I would say in this area is knowing that it is okay to struggle, like it is okay to not be okay. We don't have all the time to be strong and happy. It's okay to also sit in our pain, and to know that struggling, even if you're struggling with a difficult thing, it does not make you any less human. It's just part of the human condition. We struggle in life, but we also emerge. And we emerge by working together, holding our hands together, and learning from each other. Yeah.
It's funny how in this generation, you'll have a conversation with your friend and you'll be like, I don't drink.
Yes.
And they'll condemn you like, you don't drink? How are you surviving?
Yeah.
Ukunywi. So I have friends who actually distance themselves from me because I told them I don't drink.
Yes. Because we have put it in as a cool factor, yeah? It's like drinking is cool, all the nice clubs are cool, but sometimes, yeah. And of course, I'm sure you didn't want to lose your friends. It can be difficult, but holding on to your values and principles actually is one of the things that shows resilience. Yes.
So how can we teach caregivers that asking for help is also part of strength?
I like that question. So it's being able to demonstrate it ourselves. You see, even among the champions that you have, you, Maya, the rest, Steve, the champions within the society, demonstrating this themselves. You know that thing of that saying, don't preach water and drink wine. So you see, within the society, the leadership team themselves, if we are not able to demonstrate vulnerability, other people will not do it. Then number 2 is to create safe spaces. When Emily comes and says, I'm struggling, how do we receive Emily? Because I think many people do want to seek for help, but unfortunately, majority of us are never prepared or ready to support them. So I ask you for help, but I don't know how to do. I don't know how to support you. So maybe I ghost you. So I ask you, maybe I leave you on red, because sometimes it's not that I mean bad, but I don't know how to support you. So creating safe spaces. Then there's a whole lot of mental health providers who charge differently. Some who are on the lower end, some on the higher end. Getting experts to support us is also very, very important, because you see, when you go through trauma healing, you also learn vulnerability is actually courage. In fact, speaking out, do you know, asking for help is actually harder than pretending to be okay. So it is braver to ask for help. And then, just try. Just try. It can start. So I would encourage, like, for the caregivers who are struggling with asking for help, you don't have to start with the big things that you struggle with. You can start with the small things that you feel comfortable. Maybe it's asking Veronica to accompany you for an activity that you're doing, because it also involves vulnerability. You see, many of us are afraid of asking for help because we fear rejection. If you tell me no and I asked you, I'll feel bad. So most of the time, it's not that we don't want to, but we fear rejection. So learning these safe people and practicing to ask for help can all be very useful. Yes.
So we have caregivers who are stuck in their healing process. They're trying to move forward, but the traumas are always coming back. So what advice do you have for those who keep on trying so hard to heal, but they're always stuck at that point?
Okay. For those ones who have tried it, I'm assuming that means they've tried on their own, right? I would say then, if you have tried 1, 2, 3 times and still stuck, those ones I would really recommend that they work with a mental health person. Because the stuck points are probably speaking of like a lot of pain or trauma there. So somebody who is trained can be able to help them get unstuck. So I would say for those ones, please seek help. Even within the mental health space, there are always therapists who sometimes can even offer pro bono services. So those can help.
So many caregivers talk about going through things they've never opened up about. So how do we convince them that they can open up to therapists or even friends who are closer to them?
Okay. I think number one is like this conversation that we are having. I believe the ones who are seeing me, I'm a therapist. I'm what? I will not eat you. I'm not scary. I hope I don't look scary. So anyway, when you come to a mental health person, they have the skills to support you. So I would encourage, like through these conversations, the way we are trying to normalize, sharing your stories among the team, those who have sought help before, if they are able to share and say, I went through a journey of healing, that can help. We also, the good thing with living in a digital age like now is that we have a lot of resources. I know earlier you had mentioned like a TikTok video. Of course, you also need to look for credible information. So even these mental health providers, research institution, they also have free resources on YouTube. So you can check, So you can check when you see other people have talked to a mental health person or have had this conversation and they're okay, it can encourage someone to come. So there are resources even on YouTube. You can see stories, you can hear stories even from other people. I believe those can be helpful, yes. And seek help. We don't read minds. You will, we'll just support you to walk through the journey.
So as we wind up, kindly encourage our caregivers out there who are watching. And even before you continue, I can say I've been watching a few podcasts that you are actually the guest. And I remember in my journal, my notebook, I wrote people that I must see, and you are one of them. So when Maya told me that you will be our guest, I was like, the same Emily that I listened to, and he was like, yes. So I'm very happy to meet you physically.
I'm really honored, Veronica. Thank you. Yes, I've been a guest, and I've also talked about my story. And I think which is what I will start and saying that we all have gone through something, Even the people you admire, the people that high up, the people you imagine are not suffering. We all have gone through something. There is power and resilience in our stories. And I think, as I was telling Veronica before, when you own your story, however difficult it is, it removes, nobody can shame you for what you've talked about. So I would encourage you to know that the journey of pain makes you brave. The scars are what makes you who you are. So come. I'm there. Other mental health professionals are there. Your organization is also providing these safe spaces and conversation. Come, let's talk. There are many, many resources that can support you. You don't have to suffer alone. Yeah, tell somebody that I need help, and I'm sure you'll get help.
So thank you so much for this incredible conversation. And indeed, mental health is not a weakness, but it's also part of our human life.
Yeah.
So thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to Resilient Voices. Until next time, let's keep the conversation going in the comment section.